Folks, today we're going to talk about how Bill Gates said the rest of the world should follow Australia in order to prevent the next pandemic. Yes, Australia. Insane lockdowns, restrictions, travel bans. That's what he wants America and the rest of the world to be. But does data anywhere support his claims? We'll talk about it. And this feisty Pennsylvania Republican Senate hopeful, Kathy Barnette, who Trump decided not to endorse for Dr. Oz, has called out two candidates on the stage for their ties with the World Economic Forum. Take a look.
And their business. And although I think you're a magnanimous individual, but you and your corporation, McCormick, you are a part of the WEF, the World Economic Forum. You, as well as you, Oz, they're both part of the World Economic Forum. This is a very serious organization that has a mindset of pushing globalism and ESG, environmental social governance.
Okay, thank you.
And we need to be mindful of that.
Thank you, Ms. Barnette. 15-second quick response, sir, Mr. McCormick.
Well, listen, I've run two businesses, wildly successful businesses. I'm not going to apologize for my success. I have done business around the world. It makes me uniquely capable of understanding the global world that we live in. I've served in the military. I've served in combat. So I know how to deal with the challenges we face.
All right.
And just like President Trump, that experience is going to make me a better senator.
But that didn't have anything to do with the World Economic Forum.
Thank you. Let's continue on with Mr. Bartos.
Pretty spicy stuff. We're going to play some cool clips from her, tell you my opinion about who I'd vote for in Pennsylvania, her, Dr. Oz, or the other guy. And that's the show today. We're going live now. What's going on, everybody? Happy Cinco de Mayo, and this is my sad, sorry excuse for a sombrero that I have from a skit I made, so I'm going to just take it off and replace that with a God Bless hat from godblesshats.com. The numbers are lower than ever today. I'm surprised because of the content and the title, but that's all good. The show today, I got to figure out what's going on with Facebook. They've been screwing me recently, but the show today is about, first of all, I want to talk about Bill Gates' recent article in the last couple months. He's talking about how he can prevent a next pandemic. He's got a book out, and he said that Australia is the, ideal solution for the world. Of course, Australia has some of the craziest travel bans. They had one of these stricter lockdowns. They treated their working class like absolute garbage, and it's pretty interesting because you look at the data out of Africa, which has a low vaccination rate and had less of a lockdown rate. They had all these crazy predictions of deaths and crazy stuff happening there. Scientists were mystified when that didn't happen, right? They had all these doom and glooms that never happened. Sweden, which was one of the least locked down places in Europe, they had all these doom and glooms for that. It didn't happen. And in fact, I want to say on the day today, Sweden has 0 deaths and 0 cases, despite the fact that for a long time they have had less restrictions than Europe. I just want to play my minute Instagram reel and TikTok about this stuff, and then I want to go over some of those charts and what's going on. And then I want to get to the Pennsylvania Senate hopeful, Kathy, who President Trump decided not to endorse for Dr. Oz, but she's going off on the stage talking about the World Economic Forum. I played the clip. I'm going to play some more. She seems like the real deal, and we'll get into that later. But first, here's that little Instagram, TikTok situation I made. So Bill Gates just a few months ago said, if every country does what Australia did, the world could prevent the next pandemic. Considering this is the case count in Australia, this is the death chart, this is the case count and the death count in America, where we didn't follow that tight of restrictions, and this is Sweden, literally for the day at 0 for deaths and cases, despite the fact that they, for a long time, have had some of the least restrictions in Europe. How dumb do you have to be to believe this sloppy, leftover potato salad looking guy into thinking that your basic human freedoms are a threat to your health when with billions of dollars, he doesn't even have the self-accountability and self-awareness to be healthy himself? Usually he's a pretty good liar, but he's getting sloppy. So if you look all over the world, right, let's start with Australia. They have cases going up, trending upwards. They have deaths trending up. They didn't get rid of COVID. They didn't stop it compared to other countries of their size, etc. Their numbers are not astronomically better by any means. In many cases, they're worse. Like I showed you, Sweden, which I think has around 10 million people. Australia has like 25 million people. Sweden today is at 0 deaths and 0 cases. Australia's not. You go to China, which did heavy lockdowns early on, right? It seemed good in the short term, according to experts, etc. But now their cases are spiking astronomically, and the Chinese government's gone insane, acting like they want to get to 0 COVID, treating their people like absolute prisoners. You go to Peru, If you Google Peru, world's strictest lockdown, early in the pandemic, they went stricter through August. They were really, really strict. They called it the world's strictest lockdown. And you can find out they were also #1 in the world for excess deaths. So there is no correlation. I haven't even seen anyone try. I guess the media fearmongers and uses certain stuff. But overall, you go to some of the strictest lockdown places in the world, you don't see the best results. You go to some of the least vaccinated and least, I would say, locked down places in the world like Africa, and you don't see this astronomical death rate that they had predicted. So, the fact that he's trying to Australia America should tell you everything you need to know about Bill Gates. And, someone said in the comment section, I mean, most people agree with me, but they're like, don't body shame people, because I agree, you shouldn't bully people. Everybody's personal choices themselves. But I take a huge offense to somebody like Bill Gates, who he's trying to turn America into Australia and make us lose our freedom, basic human rights. He thinks these excess lockdowns and treating people like garbage is the solution to health. And you look at him and he looks like a sloppy leftover potato salad that you left in the sun for 5 months. And the only reason I say that is because he's trying to infringe on my personal health. He thinks it's okay to shut down my gym. He thinks it's okay to take away my travel. He thinks it's okay to kick me out of a restaurant. He thinks it's okay to treat me like a peasant status, as if I'm something not special because I don't get a Pfizer shot. Meanwhile, there's so many tenets of personal health that Bill Gates himself either doesn't understand, is lying about, or is completely ignorant of. But somebody that smart and that rich, I don't think he's really dumb. So I just think he's a liar and an evil person because, part of health, regardless of how many vaccines are available in lockdowns, this is just basic common sense, basic science, basic physics, basic everything. Diet, exercise, mental health. These are things, whether we're locked down or unlocked down, everybody should be focusing on somewhat. So look at his physique, disgusting. His mental health, I don't know. He seems unhappy every time he's on. His energy, he has the energy of a potato salad too. He seems like depressed and just like terrible body language all the time. And it's like, you're ignoring the fact that these type of restrictions in Australia, and when we had them in America, they raised childhood obesity. You completely ignore a lot of the unhealthy things in our diet. I know he's trying to go over to plant-based stuff, but there's also things that are in all of our food that could be a lot better, the amount people are eating, etc. And then mental health, the mental health toll of what they're doing in Australia and America. I know he knows it, but it's like he's sabotaging physical health. He sabotages his own physical health. He's sabotaging people's mental health and sense of community. And then he has the nerve and turn around and be like, yeah, we should be like Australia, despite the fact that even in Australia now, the cases and the deaths are not even down. So it's just absolutely delusional. And if you needed any more proof that Bill Gates is a total fraud, here's a clip of him on Trevor Noah recently acting as if it's for sure that the COVID virus came from an animal. Meanwhile, the CDC director, Robert Redfield, Trump's CDC director, he says that he thinks the most plausible theory is a lab leak theory. So remember when they were censoring all this lab leak stuff? Now you're allowed to talk about the lab leak theory. I'm allowed to talk about it because even a lot of scientists and experts are not sure. They don't really have proof. Here's Bill Gates smugly acting as if, it's definitely from an animal Trevor Noah, excuse me.
How do we prevent something where we don't even understand how it came to be? Like, are there labs where they need to do better at enclosing the work that they're doing? I understand that they have to do the work, but how do we figure that out and how do we move forward in that realm?
Well, we certainly be careful about lab safety. It's quite clear in this case that it came across through animals. Mm-hmm. And almost all our diseases, like HIV, crossed over from chimpanzees in Africa quite some time ago. Ebola came from bats. This also, with one step in between, came from bats. So it's going to keep happening, particularly with climate change, where we're invading a lot of habitat.
Oh, so even though Trevor Noah is suspicious that it came from a lab, everybody with half a brain is suspicious that it might have come from a lab. The ex-CDC director thinks it came from a lab. Bill Gates wants to sit there and tell you how sure he is that it came from an animal and it's climate change. Climate change, animal, we want to be Australia. If you don't see the writing on the wall with this guy and what these type of people are trying to do, it's unbelievable. And, the fact checkers are basically the branch of the government and Orwellian big tech where they're like, oh, if you disagree with all the lies that we're spewing, we will fact check you. Imagine before I play this clip of Kathy Barnette, I believe her name is. I got to fact check her spelling, but spell it properly. She's this great Republican GOP member running for Senate in Pennsylvania. But imagine if they had fact checkers in the 60s and 70s. If you talk to somebody over 70, they'll tell you how many fear-mongering science narratives have completely collapsed. I remember in the 80s and 90s, it was ozone layer, ozone layer, ozone. We're all going to die. The ozone layer is going to collapse and the sun's just going to burn us to death. I mean, they had people fear-mongering even in my lifetime. Now they're saying reports that the biggest ozone layer in the world has like patched itself up and healed itself and it's all going to be okay. So if there were fact checkers back then, they would have probably kicked you off of the public sphere and social media if you were to question their ozone layer narrative. So Bill Gates hides his agenda of control, his agenda of power, his agenda of making everybody less healthy, like he can't even take care of himself, behind all of these things that he knows the government and big tech is going to censor for him, so he can just have pretty much immunity to do whatever he wants whenever he wants, despite the cost on our physical, mental, and financial, in some cases, situations. All right, let's play this clip of the Republican fiery senator. I'll get her name properly after the clip. She sits on stage and she calls out Dr. Oz and the other guy, I think his name is McCormick, for their connections to the World Economic Forum, and apparently they don't really have much to say about it. Let's look.
We need to walk as free people. We need to remember that that COVID does not trump the U.S. Constitution. Those are some very key lessons that we should have learned coming out of this. We should have also learned what kind of leadership we really need at this moment. We lived through 2 years that felt like literal hell jumped out on top of us, with Democrats putting their foot on our throats, putting their foot on our businesses, their foot on our economy, their foot on our children. We should have learned a very valuable lesson of what kind of leader we need at this moment. We need people who are going to be fighters. We don't need people who are globalists in the way that they have lived their lives and ran their business. And although I think you're a magnanimous individual, but you and your corporation, McCormick, you are a part of the WEF, the World Economic Forum, you as well as you, Oz, they're both part of the World Economic Forum. This is a very serious organization that has a mindset of pushing globalism and ESG, environmental social governance.
Okay, thank you.
And we need to be mindful of that.
Thank you, Ms. Barnette. 15-second quick response, sir, Mr. McCormick.
Well, listen, I've run two businesses, wildly successful businesses. I'm not going to apologize for my success. I have done business around the world. It makes me uniquely capable of understanding the global world that we live in. I've served in the military. I've served in combat. So I know how to deal with the challenges we face.
All right.
And just like President Trump, that experience is going to make me a better senator.
But that didn't have anything to do with the World Economic Forum.
Thank you. Let's continue on with Mr. Bartos. Let him have a turn to speak.
Yeah, so her name is I'm sorry, I was mispronouncing it. Her name is Kathy Barnette, okay? She is a Republican candidate for Senate going against two favorites. I mean, she's surging up the polls. She's neck and neck now, but of course one of the favorites is Dr. Oz, who most of the Trump MAGA base disagrees with. Dr. Oz, I've heard he's a nice person. I know people who know him and they say he's a really nice guy. I'm sure he is a really nice guy, but when it comes to being a conservative and being in politics, he doesn't strike me as somebody who is really inspired to be there. He doesn't strike me as somebody who is really, like, I've heard clips of him on The Breakfast Club where it didn't sound like he was super pro-life. I've heard clips of him being, for red flag laws when it comes to the Second Amendment. And because he got President Trump's endorsement, he's just hiding behind that and says, like, well, President Trump endorsed me. But Kathy Barnette is the truth. I don't really endorse people. I'm not like a political, I'm not a big endorser. But if I was in Pennsylvania, I would vote for Kathy Barnette. She's calling them out as World Economic Forum stooges. She has other great clips. I'm going to play another one where she says that after the election, they're probably not going to be in Pennsylvania. But she seems like the real conservative out of that base. And this is one situation where I hope that the Trump and MAGA base doesn't listen to President Trump, because I think his endorsement was garbage. I think Dr. Oz will eventually probably just be a standard politician. He's not somebody that I would vote for personally. And I think Kathy Barnette is starting to gain favor from the real conservative base for being a straight shooter. So here's another clip. I actually made these clips. That one, I put the World Economic Forum one last night at like 2 a.m. You guys don't even realize I'm always working. I mean, I have fun. I play. I went to the beach yesterday. I body surfed and stuff. It's not like I'm a miserable. I just sit on the computer all day. However, like 2 a.m., I watched that full debate. by myself, and I was just trying to find clips of her that were cool because I heard she was pretty cool and she was talking about the World Economic Forum. So I found that clip. It's got like 130,000 views on Twitter. Now I'm up. I'm just trying to get that information out there because I know she doesn't have the budget and the power or the Trump endorsement, but watching that debate, it was a clear runaway that she was the most authentic candidate. And I'm not even just talking about like conservative values. Yeah, of course, at this point, that's important to me, but just real deal. She's definitely better than the other two candidates, and I think Trump messed that endorsement up. Here's another clip of her. I just put a little compilation together of the funniest moments that I saw during the debate, because every time she spoke, I mean, she only had a little bit of time. She definitely made it, worth it. Here it goes.
You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, actually, I actually should get a minute because you've asked them 2 questions and you're just now getting to me. But a high name ID, which is really one of the only reasons why Mehmet Oz received that endorsement, works both ways. His name ID is so high that people know he's not a conservative. Hence the reason why I'm the only one in that last poll who shot up and got the benefit out of that particular endorsement. MAGA does not belong to President Trump. MAGA, although he coined the word, MAGA is actually, it belongs to the people. Our values never shifted to President Trump's values. It was President Trump who shifted and aligned with our values.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bartos, you too.
In the Travolcker poll, I am essentially at a 3-way statistical tie for first place. And that is as a direct result of the people here in Pennsylvania because they want one of their own. I don't make many promises on the campaign trail, but I can promise the people of Pennsylvania that when these carpetbaggers lose, you will never see them again. And if they should win, you will never see them again. And I think we've gone through 2 of the worst years of our life.
She said if these carpetbaggers lose, you'll never see them again. And if they win, you'll never see them again. She's super funny, super authentic. She also said, because they were talking about abortion too, I know it's a tough topic, but she said that she was the product of rape, which is interesting. I know, because that's, I would say, one of the toughest aspects of abortion. I mean, I don't even like talking about it because it's such a tough topic that triggers so many people. But, I know multiple people, the clause that they always say is like, well, what if somebody's raped? And of course that's horrible. I mean, I understand why people would want to leave it up to the mother, but it's like, what a wonderful person that she is. And she was birthed through, apparently rape. That's what she said. So, she's excellent. She's the real deal. She's calling him out for World Economic Forum. She has that energy where you could feel it. And Dr. Oz and this other guy are just like standard, whatevers. I watched most of the debate, and I would definitely vote for Kathy Barnette. I think Trump got that one wrong, and that's not surprising. I mean, as good of a leader he was for certain things, I think he constantly surrounds himself by people who don't like him in the base. And, I like a lot of things that she said there. I want to go back to the Bill Gates thing and kind of tie it together because she talked about, I can't remember what it was, ESG, but it's like this environmental governance thing that they're doing. I just saw right before I went live that Merrick Garland is establishing some sort of environmental justice force. I don't know the name of it, but this is going to be a massive way that they take power from us. If you look at Jeff Bezos, he's spending billions on climate change. Bill Gates, obviously, our government. It's not that I don't want to clean the oceans, clean the streets, clean the water. I'm a true environmentalist. I truly believe in ocean preservation, etc. I really believe in environmentalism. I always have, I always will. But I want to let people know, as somebody that's gone to clean water protests, I've gone to Native American protests. I really do believe, although I think oil's important, I don't like the idea that the government can just steal things from people in Hawaii, steal things from Native Americans. I don't really support that, even though I support energy, etc. So I am an environmentalist to some extent. And this whole climate change agenda, they are pretty much making it a broad basket. It's the same thing as COVID. I'm going to use an analogy and hope it settles. I'm not saying that people can't get sick. I'm not saying that people can't, be hurt by certain illnesses. That's so obvious, right? But the question is, now that we know that there's illnesses and an illness that's hurting people, what do? Do we close down gyms? I think that was a terrible idea. Do we close down beaches? I think that should be universally known as a terrible idea because a beach is a safe place to be because the sunlight and you learn about how long it lasts. I mean, that was a catastrophic failure. Besides the fact that they put elderly people in nursing homes in Democrat states, catastrophic failures. So they do the same thing with climate change that they do with COVID. Oh, you're an anti-vaxxer if you disagree with the narrative. Oh, you're a climate change denier. I'm not a climate change denier. I don't even know what that means, because the climate changes all the time. When the sun goes up, the climate changes. When the sun goes down, the climate changes. When it rains, the climate changes. Summer, climate change. Winter, climate change. Ice cap melting, climate change. Ice cap grow, climate change. Polar shifts, volcanoes. The climate is absolutely changing, but they're doing the same thing. And I pray that left-wingers wake up to this, and environmentalists, because I do believe in cleaning the ocean, cleaning the water, letting natives and Hawaiians keep land. But at the same time, you have to understand people like Bill Gates, Bezos, the government, they know that if they do this, nobody is allowed to question it, because they could just censor them as a climate denier. So what they're doing is creating government agencies and groups to say, we're the environmental group, we're the environmental group. Yeah, what are you going to clean? And when it comes to electric cars, it's the same thing. I support clean energy, but you have to really be honest about it. Even Michael Moore, the disgusting Michael Moore, mentally, he's whatever. But he did a whole documentary about clean energy and found that a lot of clean energy is not actually clean. It's actually dirtier. And then I believe they kicked his documentary off YouTube because he investigated true clean energy and found out all this stuff. From lithium batteries to the mining to what it takes to put together these products. It's not clean, and if you want to get truly clean energy like solar power, etc., you have to be honest. Well, what am I building that sucks in the sun, and how much electricity does it use, or what system is it using? You can't just mine lithium batteries and just be like, oh, this is clean. It's like, not really. What do you do with them afterwards? Where do you put them? So same with plastic. I would rather use glass than plastic. Plastic's disgusting. But anyway, you get what I'm saying? Be honest about it. And that's what people need to understand about this climate change. This is the next COVID-19, where they are going to say, you cannot disagree with me. COVID-19 is real, so now you're a prisoner of the state. Climate change is real, now you're a prisoner of the state. And they're building, growing out this infrastructure, jobs, resources. And eventually when they get it, I'm sorry, they're not going to shift the temperature of the planet in the way that they're saying they're going to. They're not going to catastrophically clean the oceans. In fact, some of the dirtiest oceans come from, well, first of all, countries that they don't care about, like India and China. But in America, you look at, I live in California, and it's like some of the dirtiest beaches are in the liberal cities. It's like, why are they so dirty? Because the degenerates there are not worried about cleaning the ocean. If you really care about sea life and oceans being clean, you have to clean the streets. Everybody knows all over California, people that have grown up, born and raised in shore towns, you got to clean the streets, not just because it's nicer to live, but when it rains, where do you think all that stuff goes? It goes out to the ocean. It kills sea life. I know Dr. Drew has been a good voice raising awareness to this. So it's like in these left-wing cities, they got billions of dollars going into climate change. We're an environmentalist. But at the same time, they're not even looking at their own city that's causing environmental catastrophic results in their own oceans, because people have been brainwashed to just say climate change. It's the same thing as like the ozone layer was. Yes, you can work on it and think about it, but at the end of the day, they are being dishonest about how the earth really works. And, it's the same as your body. I'm not saying that your body can do anything. Eventually I think everybody's going to die, and I pray that you go to heaven, but at the end of the day, your body does have an immune system. And just like with climate change, they're going to cover that up with COVID. They said, if you searched it on Instagram for months, they had it blocked out, immune system, like natural immunity, as if it didn't even exist. I'm not saying you could be Superman and live till you're 5,000 years old, but you do have an immune system. Your body does have a natural mechanism to heal you. It doesn't mean you shouldn't eat food and drink water and, take supplements if you want to. It's up to you. But I'm just saying we do have an immune system. It's the same thing with the earth. The ozone layer, yeah, we could do better stuff, right? We could probably stop polluting so much. We could probably get away from plastic and get back to glass, and, stop wasting so much material that ends up in the ocean and microplastics, etc. However, the earth, just like our body, has its own natural healing mechanism. So this idea that the earth can't heal itself in any way is an absolute lie. Even with the plastic in the ocean, I'm concerned with the amount of plastic in the ocean, but there's reports now from mainstream credible science reports that the ocean is healing itself. It has figured out a way now to mesh with the plastic, and actually there are certain things out there that's getting rid of it. So nature's amazing, just like your immune system. It can't do everything. It needs your help. But at the same time, there isn't just like, oh, the ozone, it's a hole, we're dead. No, go Google ozone heals itself. One of the biggest cracks in the ozone layer is healing itself. God is great. Nature is amazing. So is your body. So these wicked, evil deceivers are trying to act as if it's always doom and gloom, fear, 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 to get people emotionally manipulated so they can control you. And they will use the climate change agenda for that. They're all planning on it. Bezos, Gates, World Economic Forum, they're writing about it. It's not a conspiracy theory. They have a whole Great Reset idea of how to restructure society. And one of the main ways that they're going to do that is through environmental justice, what they call environmental justice, equity, And when it comes to Kathy Barnette, if you're listening to this just with the audio, it doesn't matter because it's just who you are. But she is a black woman, because I know people just listening to audio can't see what she is. You could probably tell she's a woman, but at the same time, it's like, here's what I like about the conservative side versus the liberal side, besides a lot of things. On the conservative side, me, everybody, 99.999% of people, we don't care what race you are, what gender you are. Even some people do, but most people really don't. It's like, are you the real deal? I don't care that Dr. Oz is a man. I don't care that the other guy's a white man. They're both phonies. This is a black woman who homeschools her kid, who is just honest. And we don't pretend to, on the right wing, most people, we don't pretend to pander. It's like, if you're somebody we like you for who you are. On the left wing, this is what annoys me so much. They're the same as we are. They like people who agree with them. If you're a black tranny who agrees with them, they like you. If you're Caitlyn Jenner and you disagree with them, they hate you. So it's not about how transgender you are on the left wing. It's about, do you agree with Democrats? If you're a white man and you agree with Democrats, they'll elect you. If you're a black woman and you agree with Democrats, they'll elect you. If you're a, white transgender woman, whatever, they hate you if you're a Republican. So the honesty factor of it, if you come to the right wing, people are like, yeah, we don't really care who it is. If it's a woman, just do better than these people and we'll vote for you. No one's pretending like we only vote for black women. It's like, no, we don't. We'll vote for a guy if he's better than a black woman, but we'll vote for a black woman if she's better than a guy. That's how pretty much everybody in the mainstream Republican movement says. They don't care who, and that's the message on the stage. It's like, we don't care who you are, just love America somewhat, be somewhat grateful, and make this country better. On the left wing, they agree with the same exact philosophy for their agenda. They just won't tell the truth about it. We only care about minorities. No, you don't. Let me give you Candace Owens or Kathy Barnette. You gonna vote for her? Of course you're not. So shut up. Oh, you care about transgenders? You gonna vote for Caitlyn Jenner? Oh, you're not? Then shut up. It's like, just be honest about it. You like people who agree with you, just like I like people who agree with me. But we are honest about it. They are not. And I find it so disingenuous. And that's why it's the same thing with the climate situation. So I'm glad she brought that up on stage. And I think it's very, very important. I'm going to put some comments on the live stream, and I'm probably going to hang out for a few minutes. But I wanted to wrap it up with this. I like the fact that Kathy Barnette also said, yes, Trump created MAGA, Make America Great Again, but also, it's about the people and not just him. And that's not her being rude to Donald Trump. Trump endorsed another candidate. He endorsed Dr. Oz and not her. So she has to defend herself and she has to win the election and not just roll over. And I feel like, I hope that to see that more and more, where even with Operation Warp Speed, I said this today on Twitter and I really mean it. It's not just the mandates. Mandates are one part of the whole scheme, but funding big pharma, selling big pharma, raising money for big pharma, doing socialism for big pharma, bragging about big pharma, acting like it's amazing, that's all part of the scheme too. It would be like creating environmental justice leagues and then being like, but I didn't think they would do that. It's like, well, you got to stop creating left-wingers infrastructure for them and then selling their products for them and acting like you're better because you didn't mandate it. So I want to let people know, with my platform, like I have forever, I'm one of these people that doesn't just baby Trump and say, and just like MAGA does the same thing, like Dr. Oz, no, that's not a good endorsement, and Kathy Barnett's better. That's a mistake, Trump. We're not just going to walk in unison with you on that nomination. We don't agree. And it's the same thing with Operation Warp Speed. I want him to know Operation Warp Speed was not a huge success. It wasn't a massive accomplishment. It's not a great thing. It's horrible. It's evil. It's one of the most corrupt schemes in modern history. And we can't have a people's president who is going to fund Big Pharma, brag for Big Pharma, and support Big Pharma like a PR team and act like they're so great. because they're actually really not. And when you do that, it becomes a situation where we're not going to be able to win long term, because that's not playing to win. So we got to stick true to what we believe. We can compliment people when they do great things like the other day, but don't feel the need to have to justify every wicked thing that Republicans do, because they're not always going to do what you want. And a lot of times it's complex, but we need to stand firm, I think, on those things, because, you know, these people are plotting and scheming. And with Bill Gates' new book about the pandemic, I can already see where he's going. I can already see where his mindset is. I do not want, me personally, I cannot have a leader of my party that I respect, unless I just want to tune out of politics and not care. I can't have a leader of my party who's going to run around the country for the next 5 years saying Big Pharma is amazing, we did it, we accomplished. No, that's setting us up for failure. It's not cool. It's not great. It's not an accomplishment. It's a travesty. And we're going to get ourselves caught right back in another Bill Gates pandemic lockdown if we have a leader who's going to act like Big Pharma is so amazing. Because if that's what the Republicans think, Big Pharma is so amazing, Operation Warp Speed was a huge success, even though the mandates we didn't want, it's so great, then what's going to stop them from doing it again? And that's a huge part of the scheme, you know? So we got to start distancing ourselves, honestly, from what these people are doing. It's not, I mean, out of everybody I know, I don't even know anybody that's like, oh, I got vaccinated, it's the greatest thing ever, it's so amazing. I mean, I know like 10 people got vaccinated. 5 of them regret it. A couple of them are like, whatever. Some of them just got bullied into it. Some of them don't really care. It's not a big deal. But it's like, I don't know anybody that like loves it. The majority of people now, even though there's a lot of people vaccinated, they don't think it's the greatest thing ever. A lot of people feel duped and scammed. A lot of people just feel like, you know, they got pressured. The real narrative needs to be going in the other direction. Like, no, this was terrible. This was evil. We will never let Big Pharma do this again. We will never let Republicans do this again. And I don't have confidence, just like with his Dr. Oz endorsement, I don't really have full confidence that he's going to be the guy to say all this stuff that I'm saying, that Kathy Barnett's saying, where it's like, yeah, the World Economic Forum, no good. You know, Operation Warp Speed, no good. That's my thoughts. Let me know yours. All right. Let's see a few comments. I'll put them up on the screen. Let's see. Someone said they will try another lockdown, guarantee it. I think so, Diana. I think they will. And, you know, the stage is going to be set with the PCR tests and everything. It's like eventually cases are going to go up when they test that much. So that's why I'm always trying to break the narrative. Like, if this amount of cases means they can do this and they can lock down, it's like, we want to get away from the whole narrative. It's like, leave us alone with everything. Operation Warp Speed sucks. Lockdowns suck. Forced masking, like, you know, not playing to any of it, in my opinion. Let's see. Someone did a super chat. Thank you for the super chat. MP said, if we focus on the present moment and those things that we can control individually, they lose the power to fearmonger. Care for the mind, body as best as we can. Consume local natural foods. Best thing to do. Amen. MP, that was a beautiful comment. I agree. That's how they get people. And it's not just, you know, it's not just left-wingers, and it's not just like Fox News watchers. It's even a lot of truthers where they want to take you out of the present moment. Absolutely. And they want to control you with fear. Even if you're like afraid of a microchip in your, it's like, assess the situation rationally, do the research, don't be ignorant, but absolutely focus on the present, what you want to do, what we have to do, and just keep it moving. Have good spirits, good attitude. That's how we win this situation. Absolutely. Amen. God bless. Mr. Boston says, save yourself. I agree. Bill Gates, that's our recommendation to you. Save yourself, bro. You know, health starts with you, Bill. Health starts with you. Someone said I vote Kathy for president right now. Well, she's running for Senate, and I think, you know, since she's outspended and Trump endorsed Dr. Oz, I'm just trying to do my part to get her message out there, because I think that she has a chance to win. And, you know, I see Dr. Oz as being somebody like, I'm trying to think, like Lindsey Graham or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, Lindsey Graham has his moments, but then he has his moments on the other side. Like, I'm not saying Dr. Oz is exactly like Lindsey Graham, but he's not going to be this MAGA fighter who agrees with the base 99% of the time. He already has stances that are like the red flag laws. I mean, I don't know, maybe he has changed his mind on it, but I would say the safe bet would be Kathy in this election. Someone said, who elected Bill Gates to make these decisions for American taxpayer? Our government's worried about Russia oligarchs when we have Bill Gates. I mean, I guess if you have enough money, you just get to play along, you know? I don't know. Nobody elected Bill Gates, but I would say, thank you for the super chat, Emma. Appreciate it. I would say that, we have a dual party system that kind of likes Bill Gates. If I ever get a Trump interview, one of my questions, I have quite a few questions for President Trump. I would compliment him. I would say nice things. I wouldn't be a jerk. But I want to ask President Donald Trump, what do you think of Bill Gates? Because 99.9% of Trump's base is skeptical of Bill Gates' obviously complete opposite agenda to everything. Bill Gates has sounded off. He thinks nationalism, populism, right, conservative. He's said these things publicly at conferences that like everything MAGA agrees with, Bill Gates agrees with the opposite. So why did Donald Trump, I would ask Donald Trump, what do you think of Bill Gates? I guarantee you he likes Bill Gates. I mean, people don't have to believe me, but it's like with Fauci, he's like, me and Fauci get along. We get along. That's all I disagree with Fauci, but we get along. I know he did deals with Fauci. Fauci's his guy. He worked with Fauci for years. He worked through the Moderna deal. Trump and Fauci get along like two peas in a pod. It's all like a little show. So, yeah, he disagreed with him sometimes, but after he did like 15 backdoor deals. So when it comes to Bill Gates, I don't think Trump feels the same way as his base. I think he likes Bill Gates. I think he gave Bill Gates a position in the White House. If you Google Trump tried to hire Bill Gates, no one's ever asked him the question. Bill Gates says that Trump tried to give him a position. So someone needs to ask Trump, what do you think of this guy? Because you keep doing work with all these people who hate us, and now you're running around the country selling vaccines. That's not going to stop another pandemic. Like people have been deceived into doing the opposite of what their common sense says. Like if Hillary Clinton did Warp Speed, no one would make excuses. If Obama did Operation Warp Speed, no one would make excuses. If Mitt Romney did Operation Warp Speed, no one would make excuses. If Lindsey Graham did no. But if Donald Trump does it, people have this inverted reality like, oh, this stopped the pandemic. No, it's going to create new ones. Because if they have this scheme, lockdown, control the people, print money, get billions of dollars of vaccine sales. You think this is going to stop another one? Are you kidding me? They just got the greatest business model of all time. Big Pharma just made a killing off of you. He didn't stop a pandemic or stop a lot. He stopped the lockdown. No, he didn't. They got money signs in their eyes now. They're like, we can keep doing this. Why wouldn't we? It's like we can get away with it. People will agree with it. People will make excuses for it on both sides. And then we run away with 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 billion dollars. It's, the only way to stop another one is to get to the core of this one. Operation Warp Speed was a disaster, a failure, and a betrayal, not a success and not a human accomplishment. That's a lie, and people need to hold them accountable. In the same way that the Dr. Oz endorsement, sure, you like Dr. Oz, you're both celebrities, but as far as the agenda that your base agrees with, he's not really the guy. So, we got to definitely hold our own, in my opinion. Let's see. Someone said there's sheep on the left and the right. There's always going to be people who, get emotional, get attached. Listen, I don't know. Listen to certain analysts or journalists who say certain things. So there's always going to be an element of people who are looking to follow somebody. So, you can get caught up and follow the wrong person too far. I think that's absolutely what's happening. Someone said, I don't think DeSantis will run. I don't think he's probably going to run for president either, but it doesn't, my message is not really about that. It's just like people need to just get their voice heard and let everybody know, including Trump, not to allow this type of stuff to happen ever again. Make it very clear, because I think that's kind of how party politics works. We talk about it here all the time, but, they know that they could play off of each other. It's like, if I own, you get what you only got two characters, this character and this character. That's really it for the most part. So they all play off each other. Like Schumer plays off McConnell. Like it's part of the whole scheme where it's like, yeah, I don't do crap for Democrats, but if I can make Orange Man look bad, people will run into my corner. And then it's like, well, Trump, he doesn't need to do very much to make the Democrats look bad. They look insane. So he understands that, his power not only comes from who he is, but it's like, look at the other side, so it's kind of part of the scheme where a lot of times these leaders fall short of their promises and fall short of what people expect them to do. Because once you gain power, you don't have to defeat a million people. It's just like, yeah, I'm better than them. So, and people keep falling for it. They run back and forth. They get mad at their own side. Like, Democrats get furious if you disagree with them slightly. And, certain conservatives are like, don't question Trump. He has a secret plan. And it's like, this is kind of part of it's like a ping pong ball back and forth where, they're hoping people don't ever wake up and, get it less attached and just call it like they see it and be like, well, yeah, I like this person better. But at the same time, we need to challenge them a little more. It's okay to challenge your side. It's just the problem with the left wing is they almost seem like I'm not talking about everybody, but I want to say like the core energy in the left wing, these like younger activist kids who are like far left, like AOC, they almost like they're mad at Democrats for doing the right thing. They never do the right thing, but when they do, it's like they want them to go further. They're like, get rid of all my debt and, do full-blown communism. And it's like, that's not really the right route. So the Democrats are in a pickle because their base almost demands that they go crazier. And then the right wing has a base, I think, that's a little more, with it. They want the Republicans to do a little better. Let's see. Someone said he shook Klaus Schwab's, all right? I don't know. Next will be mandatory service in the military, someone said. I don't know. Maybe. Juan said, stop moving to Florida. I know a lot of people in Florida are like, it's crowded. Don't come here. Who's the next comedian to get attacked? Anomaly? I don't know. It isn't that interesting, though. I mean, obviously the media radicalizes people, but you had that Will Smith attack. Remember we were talking about that? Because obviously, like, people were like, it was staged. It wasn't staged. I don't know if it was or wasn't. It could have been real, but the psychological effect of basically, putting that out there, it's like, that was what I said a couple weeks ago. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but people are now being like, oh, attack a comedian, violence towards a comedian's justified if it's for a woman or baldness or a trans joke. So I don't know who the next person to get attacked is, but the media is literally brainwashing people, and left wingers are brainwashing people, not all of them, but the politicians, into thinking like freedom of speech is bad. They're starting to do it to black Americans too. They're being like, Elon Musk is from racist apartheid. So they're trying to brainwash you to be like, okay, Elon Musk is a racist. Elon Musk's family's a racist. The First Amendment and free speech is racist. Make up free speech, because if people have free speech, they're going to say racist stuff, and you don't want to hear racist stuff because racist stuff is racist. So, get rid of that. And that's their scheme to get black Americans to turn against their own freedom and say, it's like, if Elon and people on Twitter can't say things, then you're not going to be able to say things. If you question white people or the government or Republicans, now you're not free to have the First Amendment. So they have all these schemes and scams to convince minorities to not like the First Amendment, convince like left-wing activists to think that violence is the answer and comedy should be illegal. It all goes hand in hand. So I don't know. Hopefully no more comedians get attacked, but this is what the media is doing. They're radicalizing people. They're turning them into violent people through think of all the programming of the last couple of years. Let's before the Women's March and all that, let's just go to 2020. All right, first, they're programming people, and unfortunately, mostly left-wing people fall for all of these. Not all of them, but this is a lot of right-wing people see through this. All right, lockdowns. What's lockdown? Now you're on house arrest, but you didn't commit a crime, so you just lost your freedom. You're basically on house arrest, and you can go to jail, get fined if you go to the gym, go to the beach, go to a restaurant. Normalizing lockdowns. I would consider that a form of human slavery, serfdom, peasantry. You are not an individual that has the autonomy to go to the gym now. You can go to prison, or you could go to court for the crime of leaving your house. You are a prisoner now. So they brainwash left-wing people into being okay with their own enslavement. So that happened in 2020. That was a huge escalation from anything we've seen. Okay, now let's go to the George Floyd riots. Although that situation was tragic and unfortunate and awful all the way around because it just caused so much chaos and sadness and anger, now the media, left-wing culture, sports leagues, I would say celebrities, athletes, everyone, they're justifying violence and chaos because very few people that were left-wing activists, very few, I can't even think of 5 off the top of my head, only right-wing people were condemning the violence. Even right-wing people who agreed with the narrative, but they're like, don't go do that. You had people, excuse me, I had to get the COVID out. No, I'm just kidding. But they're now programming people that were programmed to think that human slavery and self-imprisonment is a virtue. Now they're being told that violence is a virtue, looting is a virtue, stealing is a virtue, killing is a virtue. And that's just going on and on. So now it's like they're programmed to feel that way. And now you go, to the Will Smith thing. I'm not saying it's that devastating, but now they're like, hitting comedians is okay. Hitting comedians, free speech is bad. Elon Musk's a racist. So if you're this normie that doesn't have, attachment to or I would say control over their emotions and basic common sense, and you're just kind of, floating through life and not really doing investigation, here's what you're being, thank you guys with the bless yous. I was like, why is everyone blessing me? I was like, oh yeah, I sneezed. So now you have lockdowns are good, human enslavement is good, big pharma is good, vaccine, pills, being overweight, just sitting at home, not having a community, being lazier, which leads to depression, rioting in the streets for George Floyd is good, hitting comedians, it's like they're winding people up. So that guy's probably just like a freaking product of like 7 different brainwashing psyop schemes. And then he goes and tackles Dave Chappelle, one of the most popular black comedians of all time. Oh, I'm going to fight racism and bigotry by literally trying to kill a black comedian. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I mean, that guy should just go to prison forever. It's like, get out of there. Like people like that he's probably going to be out in like a year and then freaking attack somebody on the street or something. It's like people like this are just out of it. But this is what's so annoying, and everybody knows this. I'm preaching to the choir, but the FBI, the media, the Justice Department, all these left-wingers that are so concerned about stuff, it's like I'm not saying all of them, but I'm not blaming the FBI because I don't think they're doing it specifically, but like the media and allies in, left-wing press, they're radicalizing violently these people to think this way because they're all screwed up thinking everything is wrong. Like, you can't deny, this is what's so frustrating about the fact that they want to just, scapegoat Trump supporters and everybody all the time and act like the only thing we should be studying is right-wingers. And it's like, no one is more violent than the left wing right now. And I'm not saying no one on the right's violent. I'm not trying to be like a pandery, one-sided person, but it's like you literally allowed for months, weeks rather, people to just riot in major cities, steal shit, burn down things, kill people, go on this billion-dollar crime spree, destroy communities, and then the NFL and the NBA acted like it was all okay. You had 2 of these major, sports leagues justifying all this violence and actually rewarding people. People are getting rewarding. You will get bailed out of jail. You will get, an end zone celebration. We'll have things on our thing. So they didn't address it. The NFL and the NBA didn't say, all that violence is super evil. All this is really bad. Like, it's like really make sure people knew like, okay, that's not to be rewarded. Like, you don't want to be violent and evil and no, it's like, oh, the real thing is the other people and we need to fight them and it's like they just brainwashed tens of millions of people to think that is a way to get justice and peace and, black success. And it's like, these are the most radical people ever. If you watch CNN and MSNBC, you think neo-Nazis are taking over every neighborhood in the country. I mean, they're literally unhinged. So it's annoying. It's not just annoying that they're doing all this stuff, because that's annoying in its own, but the fact that then they have the gall to turn and be like, yeah, let's just study right-wingers all the time. It's like, look in the mirror. Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid, radicalize more people than some of the most far-right groups. The Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, a Jewish left-wing organization, they create more anti-Semitism than their own worst enemy because they're such garbage people over there. It's like, you're looking for all of the reason that this is happening. Look in the mirror for 2 seconds. Yeah, there's bad people on the right, but some of the fakest people on the right, the fakest groups, the fakest activists, the fakest, we're solving it. They make it worse. They write on an end zone, oh, no racism. No, nobody's converted from that. That's not how you convert somebody who's hateful into someone that's peaceful. Allowing riots, you think that's going to make people feel more comfortable with race relations and acting like that's cool? Yeah, now most people are like, yeah, I would never live in that community. Why would you? I mean, just look at the crime rate. If you're not a racist person and you love everybody, look at crime rates. Google in every state. Where's the safest place? Where's the most dangerous place? And look at the demographics. I mean, these these are things you could spend trillions of dollars, but people with a brain and common sense are going to look at this stuff and be like, yeah, I don't care who lives in my neighborhood, but I want to live in the safer area. I want my kids to grow up in a place that isn't completely trashed and, stray bullets coming by like the south side of Chicago or, some rundown area of St. Louis. I'm not saying the whole city's bad, but most people that take care of themselves and want their family to be safe don't want to live in a high crime area. So who's concerned with high crime areas? Only Republicans. I mean, who talks about Chicago? Republicans talk about Chicago more than Lori Lightfoot does. It's like she acts, oh, we're going to fight racism. Yeah, why don't you buy a house in the south side of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, live there for 4 weeks, and then tell me how much you really care? It's like, it's such an absolute joke. But all right, God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Appreciate y'all so much. Have a beautiful Cinco de Mayo. Enjoy your day, and just to let people know you're not racist, maybe eat a taco today, and listen to some Hispanic music. No, I'm just kidding. I just like to overly pander and say something ignorant that's kind of funny. But jokes aside, I could get away with it. I'm part Puerto Rican though, so I have a slight victim card. I have like a 25% to 15% victim card. You got to just bring it out sometimes and just hold it by. I'm like, I can't be racist. You know what I'm saying? My grandma's from Puerto Rico, but appreciate y'all. God bless you. And if you like these hats, godblesshats.com. Some people say, Anomaly, I don't want a hat. I don't wear hats. That's fine. You can go to godblesshats.com or dreamrare.com. We got shirts. We got beanies. We got tank tops. We got long sleeves. We got sweatshirts. If you're cold, are you cold? You shouldn't be cold. Global warming. You should be hot. But if you're cold, we got some sweatshirts. Most of them are sold out, though. They sold out extraordinarily well. But that's what it is. And I will be back. That's the show for today. Make sure you share it if you like it on Facebook. And check out those clips of Kathy Barnette. She's pretty cool. She didn't get Trump's endorsement, so she could use a little help into the public conversation. I think she is probably a better option for us moving forward. But just my opinion, who knows? Only time will tell.